Today I wanted to find out if the Shattervale Easter egg was possible with only a knife. Now I knew there'd be some obvious problems to this, like how is the boss fight ever going to be possible, but we'll figure it out when we get there. So first things first, I'm lucky I didn't start off doing this Easter egg for the first time knife only. I was smart enough to actually do some practice runs, so that way I could kind of speedrun it and get it done on the lowest round possible. Literally just in the spawn room we can already start doing steps, and usually with these little plants it's best to bring in an AR with a little grenade launcher under barrel, that way you can blow them up. But obviously we can only use the knife, so I just opted to bring in Semtexes and blow them up that way. After that I was lucky enough to get this double points from a zombie, which would be huge. This way I had tons of money to open up a lot of the doors around the map until it all just completely got cancelled out. Although the nuke was annoying, it wasn't too big of a setback because literally only like 6 zombies got killed probably. So I continued on throughout the map, which I might add is probably the most beautiful in Black Ops 6 we've seen yet, only with Terminus close by, but that's when I picked up the most important perk of probably this entire run. Now some might argue that melee macchiato would be important because obviously the melee perk kind of goes with the knife, but the only problem with that is there's not actually a melee macchiato machine on this map. So that means we have to wait until round 25 to buy it from the Wonder Fizz machine, and in the meantime easily the most important perk is going to be PhD Flopper. And the reason why is not only the crazy speed you can get from sliding around with the augments, but also because another augment which causes an explosion when you slide into the zombies. This explosion would basically be the way I'd be killing almost everything. But that's emphasizing the almost, because on the first special round I realized kind of a big problem. These toxic zombies explode when killed and run extremely fast, so there's really no way for me to kill these guys without taking an insane amount of damage, because let me tell you, their explosions hurt. So quite literally the only way to make it through these rounds was just to kill one at a time slowly, go back and heal, and just continue until all of them are gone. Pretty annoying, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I of course though want to make it as easy as possible, so my first goal after getting PhD is to upgrade my knife, which if you've never done before I highly recommend because it actually is really good against bosses, just not so much big hordes of zombies. Anyway, I finally finished repairing the elevator, which I honestly was in no rush to do because it would have been just as efficient to go down on round 10. And that's because only on round 10 and above down there is when you can finally get the floppy disk, which is the first step in building the Mark II. But because it's only round 9, I decided to do what I could before ending the round and going down there, so I looked for some more plants around the map after I found a grenade. And I spotted one right here, only issue is that this one was elevated and I had a frag grenade. Moving on from that, I killed the zombie with the floppy disk in the downstairs area, essentially right as I went down. It was really easy. And what you need to do with that floppy disk is bring it to this computer in the something foyer, I can't tell because my ping is blocking it, but here is where I needed to hold out and wait for the computer to give me the message that I need for the next step. Well, you hear some vermin spawn in, but luckily it's not too much, and I say that because if you watch my Terminus knife only video, you know that these guys can absolutely melt you. So that wasn't too bad. I walked up to the computer and got my code, which was Yeti, and headed straight to the board next to the PhD. I decoded the message fairly easily because on solo you can just pause and don't have to worry about a zombie while you're doing it. And then I headed straight toward the armory with the Mark II, thinking that I was about to unlock it. Little did I know I forgot about the whole step with the Doppelgast. Yeah, remember earlier when I said I'm happy I did practice runs? Well, I guess I did them for nothing, I don't know. Anyway, now I had to fight this absolute tank of a boss, which I'm sure isn't really that bad, it's just I only had a green knife at this point. This green knife honestly did not cut it because I was fighting this thing for a good like 3 minutes because I was honestly just not doing enough damage. But it eventually went down after what felt like an eternity and dropped the final part that we needed, which was the severed arm. Now I was actually gonna go get the Reagan Mark II when I ran up to the armory door and saw this. At this point, I'm sure that you can see that the knife only Easter egg takes a lot of patience to get through. But after a couple minutes of waiting, I finally entered the room and placed the arm on the little lock and got the Reagan Mark II. It's not like I can use it or anything, but we're just gonna need it for some Easter egg steps. For the first upgraded Mark II, I wanted to do the one that I found the most annoying first, just to kind of get it out of the way on the lowest round possible. I placed the canister in its slot and it spawns in a mega abomination that needs to just shock and run into all 3 of these rocks right here. Now this step isn't difficult at all, you can literally just save a zombie and do it, but it just takes forever because the abomination is so unpredictable. To my surprise, I actually finished pretty quickly this time, and as soon as you're done with that, you're going to need to defend this power thing. Once again, just like the last step, this is really easy when you save a zombie because like a couple of vermin spawn in at a time, and that's no problem just sliding into them with PhD or knifing them. And just that easily, the first upgraded ray gun Mark II is already done. The next Mark II is definitely not one I was looking forward to because I knew it kind of drains your salvage a little bit, and it's the one where you need to throw the tomahawks at the pipes. Of course, I didn't have any tomahawks because I was using things like Semtexes, so I have to craft them, and that's really valuable salvage that could just be going to my knife or something. But as long as I don't miss the pipes multiple times and lose the tomahawks out of the map, it shouldn't cost too much salvage. You might have noticed that I even did that with no crosshair, and I honestly have no idea why my crosshair was ever turned off. But I also needed to hit the other valve, so I went to craft another tomahawk. But this time I was actually smart and turned my crosshair back on, and I hit it with no problem. Then we go back to the crafting table for the third time and craft a grenade to blow open this container. I really wasn't kidding when I said this step needs a lot of salvage, but now we're done, and all that just for a canister. Next, I ran like 3 laps around the whole map looking for these little white boxes so I could just get one that had the essence bomb in it. But I eventually found it in actually this pretty common spot. Even after that, there's still more running to do because we have to get the 2 reflectors, but after that, we're done. The running around just looking for parts was way longer than just doing the actual step. And that's because all you really have to do once you have all the parts is kill 3 doppelgas, which, don't get me wrong, my knife isn't really the best against them, at least at this point when it's not that upgraded, but it still didn't take as long. The third and final doppelgas that spawns in is one of the red ones that have an insane amount of health. So don't take it that doing the actual step is super easy when I say that it's mostly just running around from parts, because I was here for a while. Sitting here literally just slashing away at him was really boring, and this just makes me wish Melee Macchiato was a machine on this map. But I eventually finished him off, and now that ray gun was done. This final ray gun Mark II is the one that I'd consider to be the hardest to build, and it involves these plant seeds that we were blowing up earlier. But one issue is that you need 4 plant seeds, and over the whole match I was only able to find 3. But that's until I was running behind the double tap machine searching for them, and I finally found the last one hiding in this bush right here. Even with all these plant seeds collected, we haven't even really started the step yet because you have to plant them and actually grow them and defend them from zombies while they're growing. Now, just like the purple ray gun, you can save a zombie to do this one a lot easier, but the only difference between the purple ray gun and this one is that a lot more zombies that don't end the round, that only give you like 10 points, these kind of zombies, there's a lot more of them that spawn in. And because of that, when you're running around just killing the zombies, you'll often accidentally kill the last one and start a new round. Because of that, I was trying my best to pay a lot of attention and not do that. And thankfully, I didn't end up killing the last zombie, because if I did, I probably would have just instantly failed the step, to be honest, and got overwhelmed. But just like that, the step is done, and I now have the final canister for the final ray gun. With all the ray guns done, I knew that the 3 mini boss fights were coming up, so I dedicated a couple rounds just to get as many points as possible, and even got this double points, which helped a lot. So I pack a bunch my knife to tier 2, and I was hoping to prioritize my salvage to upgrade it to epic before I did a boss fight. But even if my knife was only blue, I still feel like tier 2 pack-a-punch would be able to get me through it. After all, I already spent like 5 minutes fighting that one red doppelgas, so I'm assuming it wouldn't be much different, it would just take forever. But the first thing I had to do to actually unlock the secret room is play this game with these lights right here and repeat back the pattern. Then after you get in the room, you have to interact with the server, and it's going to start an objective where you have to kill zombies. And this is one step that I was specifically worried about for this challenge, because I knew that you literally have to kill them with the ray gun, as it says in the top left. Because of this, I literally didn't even try anything else, because there's no way anything would work. You have to kill them with the ray gun, so we're physically gonna have to allow 10 kills with each upgraded ray gun just to open these rooms. Otherwise, there's no way to beat this Easter egg with only a knife, and this is where it would end. But that would be a super anticlimactic ending, and I still want to see if the boss fight is possible with the knife. So I'll allow only the bare minimum number of kills. But we're not done after just getting the kills, because for this one, you have to go on a scavenger hunt for a bunch of different parts. The first one being this bell that you have to break glass for, and it's really tiny so you can't see it. I literally just held square around this entire room with all the glass broken and eventually found it.
Ooh, piece of candy.
With this bell, we need to get a brain rotted zombie to jump over the bar and serve us the drink, but that's easier said than done. Because when I tell you, this knife just did not want to activate that brain rot that I put on it. I had to go through a whole 2 rounds of zombies up here, which took a while, I might add, because I would have to run off and heal because the knife isn't killing fast enough, before I finally got one and rung the bell. With that done, I started the first liminal space boss fight, which I didn't think would be too bad. Now this is another instance where we have to use the ray gun Mark II, but in this case it's literally just breaking his shield, and I'm still damaging him basically entirely with my knife, so I think this is fine. It took a while to initially break the Mangler's chest plate, but after that my knife was doing plenty of damage against him. I think his shield reappeared about 3 times though, so I had to keep on popping it, but it really was no issue. But you might have seen that I accidentally killed this vermin, so challenge failed. Anyway, the Mangler basically gave up at the end because he was just walking around and shooting his cannon, so I took him out and picked up the Sentinel artifact. For the next Liminal room, I felt like this one was probably going to be the easiest because all you have to do is fight 2 Elder Disciples and you're ready for the boss. And I knew that even though this knife isn't even really close to fully upgraded, that it was going to melt the Elder Disciples, and I wasn't wrong. I did struggle a bit with the second one though, but that's just because there were so many zombies around this guy. Oh, and it probably doesn't help that there was 2 because these guys are probably the reason the zombies were spawning in. Within the span of just 1 decoy to distract the zombies, I was essentially able to kill them both. And just like that, we're already ready for this boss fight. Which of course is another Elder Disciple, so yeah, this one was really easy as a whole. For this third and final one, there's 3 parts that you have to find and collect, but you can only see them when you're in Aether Shroud, and for some reason, I just could not find them no matter what. I checked all the locations over and over again and passed a lot of rounds to get my Aether Shroud back, and I honestly just thought my game was glitched at this point. But that's until I rewatched a guide and realized how stupid I was because I just forgot to activate the server and even start the step. Also, I think now's a good time to mention how hard these toxic rounds are in this challenge, especially on the higher rounds when there's so many. You might have noticed, but I just finished round 25, and what that means is that I can finally go down and buy all my perks from the Wonder Fizz machine, which means melee macchiato. And man, I can't tell you how nice it felt to actually have that increased melee speed from the augments that I had. It was so great. But I didn't forget, I still had the Aether Shroud step to do, so I collected all the parts to that, and finally opened up the secret room. Now that's all we need for the third and final liminal space. This one was an amalgam, but with melee macchiato, the increased melee speed just went crazy on him, and yeah, he couldn't do anything. I picked up the Sentinel artifact, and now this was the time that I was dreading. It was finally time to go into the boss fight, but first I wanted to make some preparations. I got to just a high enough round where I could upgrade my knife to legendary because I knew that was going to be essential, but I also bought a chopper gunner because this was going to be really helpful in the boss fight. But with that, all the pieces are in place and I activated the boss fight, and as you can see, I'm going in here with a common sniper, which is quite weird. Before the boss fight even began, I was already trying to think of things that I could do to actually win because it's literally a zombie T-Rex. When I try to knife it, it's just gonna stomp on me. Even though I've beat this boss before, this is the first time that I realized that Richtofen actually sits up on the hill with a sniper and snipes a lot of the zombies, which I could use to my advantage. Now, it's not like he was really gonna do any damage to the actual boss, but what he was gonna do is take out a bunch of the armored zombies and then I could pick up the armor plates. But if there's no actual way for me to attack the boss, then armor plates are just gonna delay the inevitable of me dying. So I just tried to run up to it and see what I could do. As you can see, it stopped for a little bit and I was able to hit it a few times, and it only taked at his health, but I mean, I could attack it and do damage, so that was a good thing. But right after this is when I discovered a potential strategy that I could use. As you can see, if you just stand behind him for a second, he'll stand still and start slamming his tail to the ground, and in that time you can run to his legs and attack them. By doing just that, I actually did a decent bit of damage to him. The strategy definitely isn't without risk though, because sometimes if you're too late, he'll just keep hitting you in the air. And right here, he got me to 30 HP and there's a puddle of goo to my left, so I can't run, and right here there's literally just nothing I can do. Oh, and at this point you might notice that I still have quick revive, but my self revive is being used, and that's because throughout the run I already used all 3 of my dying wishes, so right now I was on my last life. Not only that, but I had lost my melee macchiato, so now I was swinging slow and doing less damage. Luckily there was just a self revive kit chilling on the ground right there, so I grabbed that. I was pretty surprised. But if I'm being honest, it was no use because it was not looking good with only 3 perks. As a last resort, I popped my chopper gunner, which does a lot of damage to him, but it honestly just wasn't doing enough. I tried activating all my gobblegums and I even got jug, which is nice, but it was no use. I even used idle eyes expecting the boss to stop, and then this happened. I was definitely not happy about that, but don't get me wrong, this is not the end because I was not going to give up this easily. It was time for attempt number 2. Now, learning from my mistakes, I brought in a Perkaholic with this time with me just in case, and I was locked in. And just like that, I had completed the Shattered Veil Easter egg with only a knife. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more just like this, and I'll see you all later. And I better not hear about this vermin kill.